When I first saw the trailer for Hot Pursuit, I was pretty convinced I knew exactly what this movie was going to be and how I would feel after the movie was done. And movie did not disappoint me. It was exactly what I thought it would be. A heaping pile of steaming crap. And I thought Hot Tub Time Machine 2 was bad. So Hot Pursuit, or otherwise known as Hot Mess to many, many people that have seen this film. So Hot Pursuit is your classic and very generic buddy cop movie, sort of road trip movie, where it's two very opposite characters that combine and make comedy. And so it's about this cop, this really by-the-books cop that has memorized all the standard procedures of police work by memory. So she's like really extremely by the book. And she's played by Reese Witherspoon, who's got a Texan accent in this movie. And she's goes to protect Sofia Vergara's character, whose husband is testifying against this big drug lord or some sort, and they end up team up and hilarity ensues. They're also framed, and corrupt cops and drug lords are after them both. This sort of thing has been done for years. This buddy cop routine, this opposites meet, and this road trip type movie. All this stuff has happened several times. Even generic movies can still have some entertainment if the characters are good, if the development between the characters is believable, if the comedy is actually funny. Several things can heighten it so that it's not as generic as it actually is. So there's a reason why this movie will remind you of several different types of movies, like The Heat, and Identity Thief, and Bounty Hunter, and Tommy Boy, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Black Sheep. Like, all these movies have a very similar concept in common. The only thing is that about half of these are actually good. And Hot Pursuit is worse than all those movies I just mentioned. Now, I have no problem with the actresses in this movie. They have proven to have good work, and they've proven to be very funny. It's just they're not funny together in this particular movie because the characters themselves are some of the most annoying characters you will ever come across in movies. Just to give you a glimpse of just how annoying these characters were, there was this one point where Sofia Vergara learns that her husband is dead, and this is actually shown in the trailer, so I'm not giving too much away. This is shown in the trailer, and it's meant to be funny, and the trailer, if it was that actual short in the movie, maybe it could have been bearable, but it's like 4 long shots of Sofia Vergara, after learning her husband is dead, just going, I can't even do it. It's 4 long scenes of her just screaming. And it's freaking annoying. That's the mood the whole movie is like. That's how annoying the rest of it is. Because, yeah, Reese Witherspoon is this by-the-books cop character, which has been done before and done well, even after so many interpretations of it has happened. The problem is, it's just, she's really annoying. She's like Donatello was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Michael Bay produced one. She's like that in the sense because in Donatello in that movie, the only reason he would the only way the filmmakers felt comfortable into showing how smart he was by rattling off random statistics and all these different possibilities and stuff. And so he'd rattle on numbers and statistics and percentages and all this stuff to seem smart. And Reese Witherspoon's character, to show that she's so by the book it's ridiculous, is she'd rattle off these memorized codes and procedures, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and it becomes to a point where it's really annoying and just way too much. And Sofia Vergara's character is apparently pretty similar to Modern Family, I guess. I haven't really seen too many episodes of that. I've only seen bits and pieces. But she's this sort of girl that cares more about fashion and design and her shoes and looking good and being girly girl and trying to get a makeover on Reese Witherspoon. Now I have to give the film a little credit because eventually it does explain the reason why she cannot part with this huge suitcase of shoes that she has to drag along with her as they're being chased by cops and drug lords and all these people that want to kill them. So it does explain the reasoning behind it, and there's another twist after that about it. And there's another twist about maybe she's more manipulating Reese Witherspoon and stuff. And, like, that's fine and interesting. That could have been done well. It kind of is. The problem is that everything else in the movie sucks so badly. It's done so poorly and so uninterestingly and so annoyingly that by the time you get to the actual seriousness and by the time you get to the twists and the things that actually could be interesting and actually are amusing, it's too late. You've sat through an hour of crap and you can't enjoy the good stuff about the movie. Like, there was this whole scene where it could have been extremely amusing and it could have been really funny. It's something that I probably would have liked and normally would have laughed at. There's this one part where they're trying to get away from the bad guys, and you kind of see in the trailer where they're driving this bus and eventually they try to ram the car off the highway and stuff, and they're happy. Well, during this whole sequence, they're riding a tour bus with all these senior citizens, and so there's a bunch of senior citizens in the back, and they're all talking, and they're like, "Is this part of the tour?" And, "Oh, this is fun. Let's do it again," and all these weird, funny things. And honestly, I could have laughed. I thought that scene was amusing. The problem is, this was an hour at least into the movie, and I hadn't laughed a single bit through that first hour. And so I was in such a bad mood that I couldn't even find that amusing, and I couldn't even give that a chuckle. But no, mainly most of the time throughout the movie, I was doing several things like this. That was pretty much me the entire movie. Now, the major flaw of this movie is that the characters' friendship by the end of the movie does not feel realistic whatsoever. There's like no development between these two characters, and there's no sort of bonding that ever happens in the movie. There's maybe some instances where you can see a partial bond or something that could have been considered a bond, but all the while, Sofia Vergara is still trying to escape for some reason. And so it feels like all those scenes are meaningless because never once does she seem like she's going to stay with Reese Witherspoon. And so literally there's this scene where like Reese Witherspoon does something and Sofia Vergara is like yelling, and this is the point when there's supposed to be a believable relationship happen, and Sofia Vergara is just like yelling at Reese Witherspoon, and then immediately during the scene, suddenly they're all lovey-dovey and they're best friends for life. And There's even this one really stupid scene, and again, this is in the trailer. This is a real stupid scene, and it's them trying to, there's this barricade of police officers trying to find them, and so they have to get out of this guy's truck, and they cover themselves in this deer pelt, and they're crawling across the long grasses, the field that's full of long grass, and they're crawling across, and they're loudly arguing, and get this, loudly, because if they were whispering and arguing, this would be fine, and that would be kind of funny. They're arguing about what sound a deer makes, what noise does a deer make, and none of them know, and so they're arguing about it really loudly, and you know it's loudly. It's not one of those, it's loud in the film, but it's really not loud in the real life situation of the film. It's loud in the real life situation of the film because it literally shows the cops, one of the cops in the barricade, and you can hear their voices still, and he's looking around looking for them, like he's heard voices very clearly, and so he shines his light at them, and it's clearly a fake deer head. It's so stupid. There's no way it could be possibly a real deer that he's seeing. And then Reese Witherspoon makes this weird horse noise, like this. It's like really stupid. And the guy's just like, and then just walks away. It's just one of those scenes that proves to you just how stupid everyone else in the film is. There's even this one guy that felt like to me like he's trying to impersonate Matthew McConaughey. Like, really? It's like he's got that accent, and it's kind of weird. Now, if you like generic movies and you're still fine with movies that have been done before, or you're either completely oblivious to all the comparisons that this movie has with several, hundreds of other movies, then you might actually like this film. So many people have said that when they saw this movie, the entire theater did not laugh a single bit. I had the exact opposite reaction. I felt like I was the only sane person in the theater not laughing because everyone else was laughing their asses off. There's this one guy that was really loud, and he was like way to the left in the theater, and he was laughing at things that weren't even supposed to be funny. And it wasn't like things that are done so poorly that it's funny, even though it's supposed to be serious. No, it's things that actually are serious and actually done seriously, and he still laughs. Like there's this one part where okay, I know, this could be spoiler, but I don't frickin' care, because I don't care about spoiling this awful movie. And it's towards the beginning anyway. Basically, Reese Witherspoon is sent to do protective service with this FBI agent, and eventually there's this shootout, and the FBI agent is shooting at the bad guys and says he'll cover Reese Witherspoon as she runs for the car. And so he's covering her, she's running, and as she gets to a wall and presses behind it, you can see over her shoulder, because you can see him still shooting behind the couch. And there's this one part, as she gets to the wall, you hear a gunshot, you see his head snap back, and he collapses to the floor, and he died! He literally just died, and it's serious, and it's supposed to be... I mean, it's serious. And the guy in the theater was going... I guess that shows you just how stupid some of the people that were laughing in this movie, how stupid they really were. Yeah, this was the worst experience I've ever had in the movie theaters at 2015. It is the worst movie I went to see in theaters. The good thing I can say about this film is that it was free for me because my dad pays for the three of us whenever we go. And it was the first movie of the day, so it was when we actually have popcorn. So that's the only good things I can say about this movie, except for the slightly amusing scene of the elderly senior citizen ride. And while that could have been actually amusing, and the twists are kind of clever and pretty good, despite those actually being things that I would normally give something a half a star to. The problem is, the whole rest of the movie is so crappy and so terrible, just so bad, that I can't even give it a half star. I can't even enjoy the partially amusing moments or the actual clever twist because the movie is just so awful. I was able to give 3 movies this rating last year, which I didn't review movies from last year because this is my first year actually doing it, but there was 3 movies last year that I gave this score. It's a score that I actually do, but because I'm usually so positive for movies and usually so optimistic about movies and try to look at the good things in movies, it's a score that I normally don't give away too often because usually I can find something good about a movie. But here we go. First time this year, and might even be the only movie this year. 0 stars. Easily the worst movie of 2015 for me so far, and it's hard to believe even 50 Shades of Grey could be this bad. Like, so many people are saying, this is way worse than 50 Shades of Grey. Like, how can you do that, right? How can you make a film that bad? So, because of that, my aunt actually had 50 Shades of Grey, so I'm going to watch it after I finish reviewing the movies that I have to review and actually catch up to the movies I've seen. I'm going to see 50 Shades of Grey and just see just how bad it is and really see if it can stand up to the awfulness of Hot Pursuit. And I'm betting that it's going to be better than Hot Pursuit and even Hot Tub Time Machine 2. So I guess I can look forward to that when I see the movie. So have you seen Hot Pursuit? What did you think about it? Did you think it was awful as I thought it was? I'm happy that you hated it as much as me, and I am sorry that you had to sit through it. But if you haven't seen Hot Pursuit, let's go with something different. Instead of what is the best comedy or buddy comedy you've ever seen, what is the absolute worst buddy comedy or opposite clash comedy or whatever you want to call it? What is the worst you've ever seen? Mine's obviously Hot Pursuit. So if you like this review, go ahead and subscribe and check out my other movie reviews of 2015. And like always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.